and welcome back to another episode of The Book Stop. I'm your host Jen, and I'm very excited to talk about today's episode. But before we begin, there will be spoilers as we talk about major events that unfold within the story. In addition, each episode will have a list of trigger warnings in the description. Be sure to follow the podcast on Instagram at The Book Stop Podcast, and show your support on Patreon for early access to episodes and other additional content. And welcome back to another episode of The Book Stop, and today we are joined with the one and only Ashley.
Hey!
And I'm sad to say we are not doing a book about a puppet.
Oh my gosh, wait, I thought we were. I don't know what I'm here for.
I mean, to be fair, you could say she is a puppet.
You know, that's not a lie. You're speaking facts right now.
Alright, what book did you bring for us to talk about today, and why did you bring this book?
So today I brought Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins, part of the Hunger Games series.
Yeah, this is the second installment of the trilogy.
Gotta love it.
Bringing it back. It's 2014?
Oh my gosh.
Again?
For real? We didn't have to talk about the year. We could have skipped that.
Sorry. Well, it's happened, it's done, it is what it is.
Oh gosh.
Before we get started, we're going to play a little game.
Oh no, I'm ready.
You are going to summarize this book in 30 seconds.
Oh.
Try your best, and you may begin whenever you're ready.
I'm never ready for this. Alright.
You got it. I have faith.
Here we go. Peeta and Katniss won the Hunger Games, and it was such a slay, and the Capitol's really mad at them, and Peeta is for some reason in love with this guy named Gale, but she really should be in love with Peeta, and Peeta's mad with her, so a lot of the beginning of the book is like a lot of drama between them because they won the Hunger Games, and they have to go on this little tour thing, and then they find out that they have to go in the Hunger Games again, because they were like really the only victors of District 12, and then they go to the Hunger Games, and it's crazy, and Katniss finds out that she is the Mockingjay, and that everybody is hoping that she will save the world.
Can I make a little note here?
Absolutely.
I did want to stop you because I do love this rendition better, but you did say Peeta is in love with Gale.
Oh my god. Katniss is in love with Gale. Oh, that's so good. Imagine that story. That would be iconic. Oh my gosh.
That's so
I just came up with a new idea for a different Hunger Games book.
Oh, girl, you know there's fan fiction
Oh,
already written about Peeta and Gale.
Okay, but I'm canceling them because anyone who's a Gale stan, I can't.
Girl, we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna talk about it, don't you worry. I'm gonna summarize this book for that one single person that doesn't know what this series or this book is about. Against all odds, Katniss Everdeen has won the Hunger Games. She and her fellow District 12 tribute, Peeta Mellark, are somehow still alive. Katniss should feel relieved, happy even. After all, she has returned back to her family and her best friend Gale. Yet nothing is the way Katniss wishes it to be. Gale holds her at an icy distance. Peeta has turned his back on her completely, and there are whispers of a rebellion against the Capitol. A rebellion that Katniss and Peeta may have created. Much to her shock, Katniss has fueled an unrest that she's afraid that she cannot stop. And what scares her even more is that she's not entirely convinced she should try. As time draws near for Katniss and Peeta to visit the districts on the Capitol's cruel victory tour, the stakes are higher than ever before. If they can't prove without a shadow of a doubt that they are lost in their love for each other, the consequences will be terrifying. Yeah, so this is Catching Fire. Honestly, I don't know. I feel like this one's probably my favorite out of the trilogy, but it's a very, very close tie with the first book, because the first book just has that, that oomph to it.
Okay, I remember when I was reading this for the first time in, oh my gosh, 2014. I remember when I read that they were going to have another Hunger Games. I should have expected it, but I did not, and I remember, wanting to throw the book across the room.
Oh my gosh, I know.
No way! Oh my gosh!
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it was predictable, but it was a good predictable thing. It definitely served its purpose, and I think it did really well with the whole trilogy in and of itself.
Agreed, for sure.
So, in this book, what would you say is your favorite quote?
I am, like, such a hardcore PETA stan. Like, I will die for PETA. PETA is, like, my favorite person in the world, and he's a fictional character. So, my quote today is, you could live 1,000 lifetimes and not deserve him. Katniss is only 16.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming her. She is going through a lot. It's just, like, PETA is literally iconic. Gale is a whore. He's just so good. He's so good the whole series. I could cry right now. I'm gonna cry at some point during this podcast.
No, absolutely. The hard part is that I love Josh Hutcherson. He is everything to me. So I have a little bit of a bias, but I try to come at it with, like, not with the vision of PETA as Josh Hutcherson, but as PETA the character. But no, I definitely agree. I hate Gale, and I'm sorry for everybody who's Team Gale. Gale's gonna get bashed in this podcast, so if you are Team Gale, I would just recommend leaving, because we are going to destroy him.
Right, and we're not talking about the third book here, but if you're Team Gale and you've read the whole series, like, I can't associate myself with you.
Right, exactly. And we're gonna try to stick to this book, but we're obviously gonna talk probably about the whole series, and we might little mention of little songbirds and snakes, because I know you've finished almost the entire book, but the last, like, 10 pages, but...
Or did you finally finish it? I finally finished it. We're good now.
Woo! You did it! That's good. Okay, so I have a quote. I have two, actually, but the first one is specifically about PETA and how much I love him. So, PETA and Katniss are talking, and Katniss says, "PETA, how come I never know when you're having a nightmare?" I say. PETA says, "I don't know. I don't think I cry out or thrash or anything. I just come to, paralyzed in fear. You should wake me," I say, thinking about how I can interrupt his sleep 2 or 3 times on a bad night, about how long it can take to calm me down. "It's not necessary. My nightmares are usually about losing you," he says. "I'm okay once I realize you're here."
I'm gonna start crying already. I hate talking about the nightmares. It makes me so sad.
Oh yeah, it's so sad. Because, like, constantly remind myself that they are 16. They are 16. And going through not 1, but 2 Hunger Games, which are, life-threatening thing. Like, it's bad. It's awful. And they have to do it twice.
I can't. I literally can't.
Me either. But no, I love PETA. Do you have another quote?
So, Katniss starts off by saying, "So I only say, what should we do with our last few days? I just want to spend every possible minute of the rest of my life with you," PETA replies. I can't handle it. See, Gale is over here being, like, playing, like, a game, right. He's being, like, really sassy. He's like, "I'll run away with you."
Yeah.
"Oh, wait, a rebellion? That's my priority. Bye, bitch." And PETA's over here like, "I will literally die for you. Every last minute that I live, I live and breathe for you. You are my life. You are my love."
Right. And I can see from Katniss' point of view is, like, that's very intimidating.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when she doesn't 100% feel that way for him.
Right.
It's a very intimidating feeling to have to try to match. And I understand that she is only, again, 16. So that's a very difficult feeling to force yourself to feel, especially when you have not only the weight of the rebellion, but you have all these districts that are looking at you. You have Snow that is saying, you're not enough. You're not loving him enough. You're not showing that you are head over heels like you were in the games. Like, it's such a hard emotion to portray fakely, I guess.
Right. Like, if I put myself exactly in her shoes, I would probably do the exact same thing. Because, like, you want to be rebellious in a way when you're being forced to live a life that you don't want to live.
Exactly.
At the same time, when you're reading it from this perspective and you just see how perfect PETA is, it's so hard.
It's, like, hard not to love her, right? But
that's what Miss Collins was out here doing. She knew what she was doing.
Yeah. She knew what she was doing. She was putting everything into PETA. I have one more quote here, and it's a little bit about Katniss and PETA's relationship. It is that final thing that really pushes Katniss over, because Katniss, I feel like, has always, had a feeling for PETA, and in a sense, it was life and death. You can't hold what Katniss did for what she did in the games, because she was doing it to survive. But I think this Hunger Games definitely changed. This is when she started to realize that she did eventually start to fall for
Right.
PETA. And the quote is, they are sitting on the beach. PETA's like, you have to live. I don't want you to forget how different our circumstances are. If you die and I live, there's no life for me at all back in the District 12. You're my whole life, PETA says. I would never be happy again. It's different for you. I'm not saying it wouldn't be hard, but there are other people who would make your life worth living. No one really needs me, he says, and there's no self-pity in his voice. It's true his family doesn't need him. They all will mourn for him, as well as a handful of friends. But they will get on. I realize only one person will be damaged beyond repair if PETA dies. Me. I do, I said. I need you.
Oh my god.
I really like that quote. I think it's a great character development for Katniss and their relationship.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so let's hop into it. So what are some things that you liked about this book?
I think we're talking about this later, but I really liked the character development in Katniss in this book. I mean, obviously, like, the focus is around Katniss, but I really enjoyed that aspect. I don't know. The Hunger Games series is, like, just... Maybe I'm basic, but it's just one of my favorites. Like, I literally love the story. I love really everything about it.
Yeah.
Like, rereading this book, I mean, there were parts where I was like, why am I rereading this? I remember this very well.
What really draws you? Is it the love triangle? Is it the rebellion that draws you to it? Like, what draws you to this book?
I'm not gonna lie. What draws me into this book is PETA. Literally love him with all my heart. But I think it is also the rebellion. I remember when I was reading this for the first time and the last book wasn't out yet. You're dying to know what's going to happen next because the way that this book ends with the games being destroyed and PETA's captured by the Capitol, and like you just have to know, like, how are they going to get back together? Are they going to destroy the Capitol? What's going on?
Yeah, absolutely. There's that cliffhanger.
Right.
This is definitely a bridge book, I believe. I haven't read it in a long time. I know when I first read that book, oh my god, it took me so long to get through.
Yeah, same.
But yeah, this is definitely a bridge book, but I think this is the most, like, interesting bridge book I've ever read. It has so much in it. Like, it could almost be a standalone of the series in itself, but it does have those components where it is very obviously a bridge book.
Right.
But to leave it in such a cliffhanger it's so good.
Honestly, when you're reading it, it takes a long time to get to the games. Because the whole book is about the games, basically.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really not until the last few chapters.
Yeah, page 267 is when we reach the games. Because a lot of it is setting up. It's setting up what's going on in the districts. It's setting up what's happening in District 12 specifically. It's showing not only their relationship, but seeing it through the Capitol's eyes, and more specifically Snow's eyes. It's showing the manipulation, it's showing so much, but also there is that part where everything's kind of hidden. It leaves the reader in the dark, which is something that I really like about it, specifically before the games and in the games. So we have Plutarch who's taking over for Seneca, and he's orchestrating this whole thing in the background while also trying to deliver with his Quarter Quell, trying to manipulate the arena and the Capitol to help the rebellion in ways. But no, I really like the leaving the readers in the dark with, the allies and people sacrificing themselves to make sure that PETA and Katniss are okay for the rebellion. Like, it's just... chef's kiss.
Right, like that also shook me to my core the first time I read it.
Yeah.
No way, the game maker was a part of the rebellion.
Yes. He's been trying to rebel against the Capitol for years.
Right.
And this was his final chance, honestly.
For just like the things that surprised me the most about this book. I'm also a very gullible reader. Like, when I read mysteries and thrillers, like, I don't know who the killer is. I don't know what's gonna happen at the end. I'm just like, I'm along for the ride.
Yeah.
So, like, me reading this, I had no clue what's gonna happen next. So it was just a great read.
Yeah, I agree. Some things that I liked about it. I really enjoyed the Quarter Quell idea. I think it was very smart. Obviously, getting PETA and Katniss back into the games is just, like, wild. It was a smart way to get rid of Snow's enemies by getting rid of the victors, and the reasoning behind it. It made sense to me. I really liked the character development and the change within Katniss, but also between Katniss and District 12. Before, in the Hunger Games Part 1, she was very poor, didn't have a lot of like food and stuff to survive, but now she's rich and has everything she could possibly want. And now her perspective on District 12 not necessarily changes, but she has a more in-depth look at it and being able to almost have like the second chance. And I like that you see her trying to help as many people as she can, but being able to understand things a little bit different because she's a little bit more mature now.
Yeah, that aspect is like so cool. And I think also, like, the tributes are, like, trying to get the games canceled.
Oh, yes.
There was that aspect of, like, the pregnancy.
Yeah.
You know, oh my gosh, yeah. You know what I think is crazy? You know, we kind of get this perspective when we read the prequel, Songbirds, of, like, getting the districts to like the Hunger Games. Even after the pregnancy, like, everyone is shocked, but the Capitol is still, like, ready for these games to go forward.
Yeah.
And whereas, like, obviously, like, the rebellion is happening in the other districts, but, like, it's the fact that the Capitol is so brainwashed.
Yeah.
There is a pregnant child going into these games, but, like, they're okay with it going forward.
Yeah, because it gives Katniss too much power if they were to cancel it just because she was pregnant.
Right.
And Katniss already has majority of the pieces on her board. They can't give her anything else. So, like, I'm very shocked it didn't that it still went, but also not that shocked because Snow is very selfish.
Absolutely evil.
Oh god, don't even get me started on Snow, especially after reading Songbirds and Snakes. I already did a podcast on it.
Oh my gosh.
And you can listen to that if you want to hear my thoughts on it. But I will say, like, a real snippet really quick. I did not like Songbirds and Snakes. I don't understand the importance of it in the story. Did I think it was a good story? I almost DNF'd it, so...
That's a hard one for me, too. Because, you know, like, I liked it for a while, but it's like, he's just such a terrible person.
Exactly, yeah. What I would say is, I wish we would have gotten, and this is one of my likes for this book, is that I wish we would have gotten a Haymitch story.
Oh, same.
And I really loved that we got a pretty decent sized chunk about Haymitch's story. It's showing that connection between Katniss and Haymitch. You know, he was in the last Quarter Quell, which is when they had twice as many tributes. So instead of having 24, they had 48. And the fact that Haymitch won was just insane.
Right.
And I love that we got a little bit of his side.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I know there's a decent chunk about the games, but I hope she does release another book, like, about Haymitch. Because that's the perspective I want to see. I don't want to read a book about a terrible person who is just a terrible person from birth. That man was born evil.
Absolutely.
I don't have sympathy for him. There was a part of that book where I was like, I had a little bit of sympathy, but no, it was quickly drained. So I'd love to see more about Haymitch.
So what are some things that you dislike about Catching Fire?
You know, I'm sure you have some things, but I actually have a hard time with it because this book is just, like, so close to my heart for no reason.
Well, there's one thing that I know is on your list.
Oh, I hate Gale.
There it is.
I hate Gale. And you know what? I didn't hate Gale as much until I read the book, obviously. But, like, I still hated Gale. Like, I was a Gale hater. Like, there was a part of me that was like, oh, that sucks. They have been friends their whole lives. And, like, you know, I can see why they have something special. But, like, Gale, he flakes. I know he's only 16, too.
I think he's 18 now.
Oh, is he 18? Oh, he's 18. Right. Okay, he's 18. Yeah. Shut up, Gale. I hate you, Gale. If Gale's listening right now, I hate you, bro.
Oh my goodness.
You suck.
You suck. No, I absolutely agree. I did not like Gale. He's obviously in it more in this one. And I think the biggest thing that I don't like about Gale is I don't like the love triangle of this story. And we're going to talk about the love triangle a little bit more later, but it doesn't support the system and, like, the story very well because Katniss just doesn't understand her feelings and she doesn't want it either way. There's just too much going on, and the love triangle is literally the least important thing there.
Yeah.
With the rebellion, with the games, with her trying to survive, with her family, I don't care about a love story right now. And they're 16. Now, I'm not saying that their love story doesn't make sense, because especially with Peeta's part in it, it was more out of necessity, and it's just Gale and Peeta both loving Katniss, and Katniss not being able to love anyone because there's just too much going on, and there's too much on her shoulders.
Right.
And if they truly loved her, then they would help her. And that's why I side with Peeta a little bit more, because Peeta understands, because he's been in that, I guess, those shoes before, so he understands where she's coming from, where Gale doesn't. Gale wants to support the rebellion, but he expects it to just, having Katniss on his side, it's gonna go easy, and it just isn't. And she's smart in the way of thinking, like, I'm not ready for this. I'm only 16. There's not much I can do. I just want to live my life. And Gale being like, angry man, I want to fight. It's like, no. Like, I don't know. I just really don't love the love triangle. And I think the love triangle could have been put in there better. And we'll talk about that more later.
I actually feel like this is going to be unpopular, probably. Mm-hmm. But maybe there was a reason, like, she wanted us to hate Gale a lot. But there could have been a little bit more added to Gale, actually. Because it really did just seem like he's a grumpy person. Like, obviously, he lives in District 12. Like, I'm going to give him that. He lives in District 12.
Right.
He's had a hard life. It's almost like he just thought he deserved Katniss. After everything, he just deserved her. It doesn't matter how her feelings are.
Right.
Katniss should just be in love with him, and there's no other reasoning for it. When, like, Peeta had a reason to be upset with Katniss. I mean, he really did think that there was something there when there wasn't. He had to overcome that.
Right. And he eventually does. Like, he's a little butthurt from it. And I get it, but at the same time, it's like, she was doing this to survive. You can't hold what she did and said in the games to her.
Right.
Everyone was playing a part, and she was playing her part to come out alive. And I think, again, in this book, it was not only a bridge book for the plot, but for the relationship. It really built and strengthened in this game, now that they actually understood each other, because at this point she's never even really talked to the boy. She doesn't know who he is, so how could she fall in love with him?
Like when he asked her favorite color.
Stop.
And like they talk about it later. Oh my gosh, never mind, I will start crying. You can move on.
Yeah. Oh gosh.
It's orange, by the way.
Well, hers is green. His is orange.
Hers is, well, yeah, his is orange. Yeah. But then, okay, never mind.
Okay.
I'll cry.
I have one last thing that I didn't love, and that was the amount of questions that was asked from Katniss' point of view. Obviously, this is told in the first person point of view from Katniss, and wow, the amount of questions she's asked the reader is crazy, and it's like, Katniss, I don't know. This is your world. I'm just reading it, okay? I don't know what any of this means. I'm just here.
Okay, that's a good point.
But yeah, she was asking a lot of questions, and it makes sense because she is, again, a child. She doesn't know what's going on, and this is her internal monologue, but I feel like as a reader, it's almost like Suzanne was forcing us to think these things instead of letting us think them for ourselves. So it's just like, that was more of like a writer's perspective of, wow, can we calm down a little bit?
Right.
Yeah, so I want to talk about Katniss a little bit. So Katniss, obviously our main character, and really that growth that we get between the first book and this book, and even within this book from the beginning to the end. There's a lot of growth within her. Obviously in the first book we have her very, what's the word I want to use? I guess naive? Young. She didn't know the capabilities that the Capitol has. She's never really interacted with them besides, like, the Peacekeepers in the Hunger Games. She's never really been there. In this one, she is being almost recycled because she's already experienced it all, and now she has to do it again with the absolute determination that she will not get out of this alive. Was her mindset, because she wanted Peeta to get out of it, and she was going to do whatever she could to make Peeta live.
Right.
And in the first book, it was very much like she cared about herself. She only wanted her to get out so that way she could get back to Prim and her mom. But in this one, she's matured, and it's Peeta that she cares about.
I mean, she is being forced to grow up very quickly, obviously.
Yeah.
And so the role that she took in her family, I mean, she was already, taking care of her family fully before.
Yeah.
Because her mom kind of stepped to the back burner after her father died. But I think that role became so much stronger. She is taking care of her family. Like, obviously her mother was doing better. Katniss still saw this role that she had with Prim, her family was her priority the entire time. No matter, like, what was going on with the love triangle, like, her family was her priority. So I think that strengthened between the two books. Even though she thought she could die, she was like, Peeta and Gale can take care of my family. Which, honestly, was a huge shift for her to be able to do that, because her family has been her priority the whole time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it was a good progression for her.
And I think another big thing for her was that she had to grow in trust. Something that she absolutely was bad at. She had to focus on being an ally to someone other than Peeta in the games. And obviously that was not entirely her choice. Haymitch had a big part in that. She had to trust that not everything could be on her shoulders, because it just wasn't possible. She was only one person. So if she wanted to keep Peeta alive, she couldn't do it alone.
Yeah.
There's absolutely no way she would have kept him alive. And that's another thing I want to talk about, is how much Peeta got beat up in this book.
Oh my gosh, I know.
And how much Finnick had to save him. Like, every 10 pages, Peeta was getting beat up.
Peeta was getting absolutely wrecked. Like, I feel like we were all like, oh yeah, Peeta's gonna die at some point.
Oh yeah, he definitely would have. And I think the author did that on purpose to show how useless Katniss is. Because Katniss is not a good swimmer. She doesn't really know CPR and other things. But Finnick came as such a big MVP for her, because she was forced to trust him, because she wouldn't have been able to keep Peeta alive from the second the game started.
Finnick is another huge character that we haven't talked about yet, but shout out to Finnick. Keeping Peeta alive there.
Right, yeah. I think Finnick is a very interesting character, which we'll talk about in a second. But who is your favorite character? I know this is probably the hardest question you'll be asked in your entire life. I really want you to take a second, and I want you to think about it, take your time.
Well, let's have like a Suzanne Collins moment. I'm gonna ask a question to the listener.
Okay.
Who do you think my favorite character is, listener? Let's give them a moment.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So my favorite character is Peeta. But I'm gonna throw in, like, I don't think I need to explain anymore about Peeta. I'm gonna say that one of my other favorite characters of the book is Finnick.
Mm-hmm.
I love Finnick's character throughout this book and the next book. I think Finnick adds a lot to the story. Finnick and Annie's love story, and like, I think when the Jabberjay scene, when Katniss like hears Prim, and then Finnick lives in that with her because he hears Annie. Mm-hmm. That's another love story that like just adds a lot to the book between Finnick and Annie. Like, seeing how Annie was affected by the games. Like, they're all in the games, and they were all so young. Yeah. Like, Finnick seemed like he could be untrustworthy, but he ended up being like one of the most trustworthy characters.
No, I absolutely agree. Like, obviously Peeta is He's not even a character at this point. He's just a lifestyle. Like, he is an image. So obviously Peeta is my favorite, but Finnick is my honorable mention. He brings a lot to the story because you're introduced to him in such a convoluted way. Like, you see him as nothing more than a bed warmer, honestly. Mm-hmm. Like, he is used by the Capitol for the Capitol. It shows that progression of, he won the games when he was 14 years old. Yeah. So he was affected even younger than Katniss was, and he's been affected his whole life. Having somebody like Annie to help him kind of get through that, and having that love story to attach himself to, it's surprising, I guess. Right. Especially for someone who had survived the Hunger Games. And I think that his role in the story is absolutely vital. Like, he is a strong character. He's an important character. I will say, I wish there was a little bit more with him, especially in the last book, but it is what it is.
Yeah. I 1000% agree. All right, let's give a shout out to the Patreon.
Oh my god, thank you. Oh, Patreon.
I got some people for y'all that I want to shout out for the Patreon.
Well, I won't stop you. Go right ahead.
All right, well, starting off strong, we got Nick W, Bree P, Jack J, Cody H, Patrick C, Mike T, Emily P, Janeth P, Andrew O, Tim M, Ashley A, and Lulu.
Thank you guys so much for supporting the book stop. It means the absolute world to me. I enjoy doing this, and I'm glad that a couple people are listening to it. That is pretty cool. If you guys want to be part of the Patreon shout out, head over to our Patreon and subscribe today. Can we talk about how the fact that this book just proves that Peeta could have never been the face of the rebellion? Katniss was the one that initiated berries and the ending of the first book, but it's very, very obvious that Peeta is the mastermind. He is the strongest of the two mentally. Sounds bad to say, but that's just what he is, though. He's book smart. He's not street smart.
He's the voice of reason.
Exactly. And she is that image that is needed. But this book really shows that he was the weakest link. We talked about a little bit of him being beat up, but it showed a lot of him needed to be saving, while Katniss was the more of the stronger component of the two.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we both love Peeta so much, but like after the first book, in the first book too, like Peeta just needed to be saved this whole time.
Yeah, it doesn't really help that he has an artificial leg now.
Yeah.
And, like, literally, they made a mention of, like, he couldn't swim because of his leg. He couldn't run because of his leg. And it's like, it kind of shows a little bit of how the Capitol's a little weak. Oh, maybe a little, like, foreshadowing? But, just kidding. But yeah, no, I think that if the story was rewritten with Peeta as the main character even, and then as the face of the rebellion, I don't think it would have gotten as far. I think it would have been interesting to have the roles reversed, where Peeta was Katniss and Katniss was Peeta, but I just don't think he was strong enough.
I was also thinking, instead of Peeta volunteering as tribute, if Haymitch went into the games.
Oh, yeah.
Peeta would have been safer, and obviously Katniss would have cared for Haymitch, but I think it would have been very different. I do think it would have made the last book more complicated if Haymitch was in the games, but I feel like it would have been interesting.
Yeah, but also really sad, because Haymitch definitely would have died.
Yeah.
They made mention of him practicing with them and how he was out of breath after like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
So he wouldn't have made it.
But Finnick could have saved him too.
I don't know if he wanted to kiss Haymitch. Like, I get Finnick wanted to kiss Peeta. I get that. But
yeah.
So I have a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we have the rebellion, so the Hunger Games do come to an end. What do you think would have been the 100th Quarter Quell? The first one, so every 25 years they do a Quarter Quell. The first one, the districts voted on the child that would participate. The 50th was each district had to send twice as many tributes. Third one was sending the victors that were already participating. If the rebellion didn't happen, what do you think the 100th one would have been? Because that's, like, big.
You know, I feel like they might have had, instead of it being children, they just put everyone in the districts in.
Okay, that's literally what I was about to say. It's just a war.
Right, like everyone's in there. You know what? I feel like President Snow would have been so ancient at that point. He'd probably put himself in.
Yeah, he would be.
He'd be ready to die.
He would be the king from the House of Dragons, where he's like falling apart.
He's ready to die, and he's going out with a bang.
Yeah, dude, he would have been like over 100 years old.
Ancient. That he would have been dead. But if he was alive, he'd be putting himself in.
Yeah.
Put me in, coach. I'm going in the Hunger Games.
Who would you say in this one is your favorite relationship?
Alright, let's I'm gonna just say the obvious. Definitely Katniss and Peeta.
Yeah.
I mean, like, they have a very complicated relationship, and Katniss isn't really ready for love, but at the same time, maybe they do have a little bit of a trauma bond.
A little bit?
Just a little. Just a tiny bit.
Yeah.
You might not even get that if you read it, you know, it's like hidden. But, like, it's just, they're going through this together, and, like, no one understands their experience other than them. Mm-hmm. And, like, it's very complicated. I don't want to talk about the third book too much, but it's, like, seeing their relationship in the third book, even after everything they've gone through, after everything that they've both gone through individually, and then also together. It's just, like, it makes me cry. You
definitely can see that connection with them. It's not an immediate connection. Like, she doesn't immediately fall for him, and he, I would say, was already in love with her, so It grew as it expanded in the series itself. Especially, again, in the third book, we see a lot where PETA's coming from a different perspective, I guess you could say, and you see him fall for her all over again. So,
which I could cry about.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. I think Katniss's and PETA's relationship is very important in this one. I don't think they could have done it without each other, because only each other knew the feelings and the thoughts and the process of all that. Like, Haymitch, to an extent, could understand, but I don't think he would have ever fully get it, I guess. Where PETA and Katniss were different sides to the same coin. I did really like Finnick and Joanna in this one. I did like their connection that they had. Another character we really didn't talk about with Joanna, but I did really like their connection, and you could tell there was familiarity there. I wish there was just more.
I know, like, Joanna, we didn't talk about her a lot, but, like, she should get an honorable mention, too, because, like, she's such an iconic character.
Right.
And, like, the way that she rebels against the Capitol, too, is so good.
Yes.
And her very understandable rage, even from our perspective, like, we can relate to that rage in our day and age. And so, like, I just think a lot of us would relate to Joanna in a lot of ways. And her and Finnick, angry duo.
Yeah.
I mean, Finnick doesn't show that anger as much, but...
Yeah, absolutely. I just wish there was a little bit more on Joanna.
I agree.
Because we only get to see what, obviously, Katniss sees, so we see the surface of things. We don't see the depth of it.
I would love to see a spin-off of different characters' lives in general. I feel like Suzanne could definitely write more books. She could probably write a whole book on Finnick, on Haymitch, on Joanna separately, and there would be plenty of content.
Oh yeah, definitely. Absolutely. Alright, do you want to play a game?
Oh, you know I do.
Oh, shoot. So, I have a game here for us, and today we're going to play Pick Your Poison.
Uh-oh.
So, I have a couple of berries here, and you'll have to tell me if they are poisonous or not.
Ooh, okay. Let's do it.
Alright, so the first one we have here is gooseberries.
I should have studied berries before this. Oh my gosh.
You should have been the girl in the first book or the first movie when she was, like, clicking all the berries.
Right. Dang it. I've heard of gooseberries before.
That's good.
But I don't remember if they're poisonous or not. I'm gonna say poison.
No, they are not poisonous.
Gosh dang it, you can eat them.
Holly.
That is poisonous.
Yew-berry.
I've never heard of that one. I'm gonna say you can eat it, not poisonous.
Nope, it's poisonous.
Okay.
Chokeberries.
Okay, this one feels like a trick question. I would think poisonous, but I feel like it's a trick.
Final answer?
Poisonous.
Nope.
Dang it, I should have gone with my gut. Oh.
Okay. Virginia creeper berries.
Dang it, why do they have such evil names? That has to be poisonous.
It is.
Okay, good.
Mulberries.
Those you can eat.
Yep.
Slay.
Cloudberries.
Ooh, I'm thinking about Cloud Kill from Baldur's Gate. Seems like it might be poisonous.
It is not.
Dang it. Sorry, got Baldur's Gate on the brain.
Mistletoe.
That's poisonous.
Yep. Elderberries.
You can eat... Well, you shouldn't eat a lot of them, but you can have them in limited amounts.
Yep.
That's a trick question. So not poisonous for the most part.
Pokeweed berry.
We're gonna go with poisonous.
Yep. Belladonna berries.
Ooh. Sounds like a famous person. Not poisonous.
Nope, they are.
Dig it.
Yay!
I did so good!
I will say you're not making it out of the arena alive, so...
Yeah, I'm definitely done. I'm eating whatever I see. I'm hungry.
Okay. So what are some things that you would have done differently, you would have changed if you were writing this book? This is just purely our own opinions. For example, there are a few things that I noticed that I was like, I feel like I could have done without or could have added. So two of the main ones are like, I think everything was just a little too fast. Which is weird to say because we didn't get into the games until page 267, but
Right.
It felt like she was trying to put too much into this book. This could have easily been split into maybe 2 books? I don't know. It was just, there was so much going on. You would be in one paragraph and it would say, we went to the reaping, I was reaped, now I'm going to the games and I'm leaving by. It was all
Right.
within a paragraph and I'm like, wow, okay, we are moving. And I don't know if it was because she put too much in the front of the book, so everything in the back was rushed. I don't know, but I felt a rush in it.
Yeah.
Gotten rid of some of the filler. Like, this is obviously, again, a bridge book. There was a lot of filler in here. I feel like some of it just wasn't important and it could have been taken out. And I know I said this in the first podcast, but I would have liked to see more of her dad, because in the first book she really clung to the idea of her dad. She definitely didn't mention it as much in this one, and it's almost like the writer just kind of wrote it off as not important anymore. But explain that. Like, explain that now that she's mature, she doesn't think about her dad as much or something. But she mentions it maybe once or twice in this book, but I would have liked to just see a little bit more of her dad, especially because he was so important in the first book.
I agree.
Okay, the last one is what I would have done with the love triangle. So, again, you already know my opinions on it. So what I would have done with this love triangle is I would have showed Katniss and Gale already at least forming feelings for each other, or already in love, but they just like can't be together. For whatever reason, there's something holding them back. Show Gale being a genuinely nice character, because you want your readers to fall for whoever the main character is falling for. You want the reader to root for them. You want the reader to root for the relationship. But then slowly start to show Gale's actions betraying his character. Show him falling for this rebellion, falling into the Capitol's hands, and then showing Katniss understanding that she's not in love with him. She was maybe in love with the idea of him, the expectations of him. Like, I am in this small town, Gales are my only option. Like, show something like that. Again, I mentioned this in the last podcast too, of the Hunger Games, but I think in this book it would have been more important to show that, because Gale's character shifts so much.
Yeah.
I just don't love the love story, and I wish there was just more drive for it. If you're gonna put it in, support it more.
For sure. Because Gale just seems like a dick for no reason.
Yeah.
She could have had a little more.
Yeah, I think that it was more important to learn about him in the first book, or even the beginning of this book, since we're with Gale more, and really not even, because he's at the freaking coal mines. I don't know.
Right.
Show more connection before you start to force this, because it felt forced after a while.
Yeah.
Because she literally, like, Katniss literally says, I don't know how to feel. Like, I can't think about that right now. And, I don't know, it just felt forced in the end. But yeah, those are kind of my only missed opportunities I could think of. Do you have any missed opportunities?
Mine's kind of similar. I'm thinking, like, because this is, like, a young adult book, I know there are a lot of very long young adult books, so I feel like that can't be the reason, but, like, for some reason she was trying to keep this book at a certain length, and I feel like it could have been a bigger book. There could have been more content.
Yeah.
We could have gone more into depth in a lot of the new characters that we saw, because they became crucial in the third book.
Right.
So, like, I would have loved to have more information. And in the third book, we did get more information on, like, how Finnick and Annie came to be, and, like, a little bit about Joanna, but, like, I feel like in this book, we really could have gone into more depth about their Hunger Games, who they were before the games, and how it impacted them, which we did see how it impacted them a little bit in this book, of course. But I would have loved to see more about, like, these new characters that we're supposed to, like, really care for.
Yeah.
I think that's really my biggest thing. And also, like, what you said about the love triangle, about, like, I am a huge Gale hater, and I think there was a way that I could hate Gale less, because I do sympathize with his story, too. It would be very hard to grow up in District 12, live the life that you've lived. But also, like, that doesn't mean you just get to date someone.
Exactly, yeah.
I want this to be a longer book. That's my biggest thing.
Yeah, no, I definitely think even an extra 50 pages.
Right.
Take out some of those fillers that weren't necessary, and definitely could have gotten more information. I think just spread it out a little bit better. Alright, well, unfortunately, it is time for us to go, but we do one last thing before we do. We do a rating scale, but we do it a little bit different here on the Book Stop. We make up our own thing. I would give Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins 6 blood-stained wedding dresses for a pregnant 16-year-old picked out by a creepy old man out of 10. Oh, thank you, yeah.
I think that's the longest one I've heard so far.
You know, I had to add a little bit of detail into that. I want you to know exactly what I'm talking about. That's my exact rating. Like, if you could envision it, that's it. No, it's probably one of my favorites of the series. Hunger Games is a very close second. Then I'll watch the movies until the end of my days, but it might be a little bit because of Peta and Josh Hutcherson, but it might be a little bit because of that. I don't know. I'll never say. But no, the book itself, it could have been a little bit longer and then give a little bit more information and support that love triangle, honestly.
Yeah. This is about to be my highest rating on the pod so far.
Ooh.
So I would give Catching Fire by Suzanne Collins 9 pearls out of 10. For y'all that read the book, y'all know what the pearl is about. I will actively cry about the pearl in the 3rd book every time. But anyways, I would say I give this book 9 out of 10 because I really value the story building in it. I wish there was more, but I think that this was a great, as you said earlier, a great bridge between the 2 books. The 3 books is a great balance, but I don't think that she needed to add another, but adding some length to these books would have been great. Hunger Games holds a special place in my heart. It was the first book series that ever really got me into reading. I love them so much. I'll watch the movies, I'll reread the books. I hope she comes out with more that I can appreciate as an adult.
Yeah.
But overall,
yeah,
I do be loving this series.
Heck yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on to the book stop again.
Of course, anytime.
Oh, we're doing a little accent again?
Oh, yes. Hello.
Stop. If you guys want to see Ashley on again, interact with this episode, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, I'm guarantee you'll be back on next year. And until then, we'll see you around.
All right. Thanks for having me. Bye, guys.
Can you whistle? Can you do a little whistle? Thank you for turning the pages with us today. If you've enjoyed this episode, show your support by leaving a review, sharing the episode, and following the podcast on Instagram at The Bookstop Podcast. Join us on Patreon for early access to episodes and other additional content. Thank you for listening, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Hope you are too.